Hello and welcome back to another edition of Green Terror Talk, the official podcast of McDaniel College Athletics. I'm your host, Avery Newport, joined here by the head coach of the men's soccer program here at McDaniel, Steve Corrieri. Steve, thanks for returning to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. It is a good morning indeed. So I wanted to have you on today to have a season recap episode, if you will, of the men's soccer season this year. You just wrapped up your season recently. You won 10 games, lost 8, tied 2, made the conference tournament in the Centennial Conference for the first time since 2005. First time that you've been there as head coach, as the McDaniel head coach here. So just give me an estimation of how this season went in your mind. Did it go as you expected it? Did you exceed your expectations? Did you meet your expectations? What were some highlights, some positives of this past season for the men's soccer team?
Yeah, it started off with a loss, and it was probably the best thing that ever happened because we were very much performance-oriented as opposed to results-oriented. And in order to play and be competitive, although at the time it stung a little bit, losing the first game and having a couple of losses early, we were grateful for because it helped us as coaches identify areas we needed to improve upon in order to be able to be ready for conference play. So, some really good out-of-conference matchups that really helped us prepare on the coaching side of things more than the playing side of what we needed to do to be ready from a formation standpoint, from a tactical standpoint, from how we were going to play as a team. We got off to a really good start in terms of getting information for us to be ready to attack the conference playoffs.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this conference is a gauntlet, as we've talked about. I mean, Dickinson is in the Elite Eight of the NCAA tournament right now. They just lost recently, but it just shows you the level of competition that's in the Centennial. And the fact that you guys were able to make the conference tournament, you beat Swarthmore 1-0 on a goal by Chase Osborne, and a great game. It was senior day. The atmosphere on the hill at the soccer complex was just phenomenal. And to see you guys win that game, just a fun day to be a Green Terror for sure. But how did it feel, man? How did it feel to get to the conference tournament, to make it there, to make it with this group of guys in particular? Just walk me through the emotions of how that felt for you. I know after that game, I saw you in the hallway in the Gill Center, and you gave me a big hug, and you were so excited. So that had to feel great, right?
Yeah, it was very tough and very fit in the way we managed to actually secure the playoff spot.
Oh, yeah.
Alluded to that game.
It's a hard-fought game, really hard-fought game.
We took the lead to a tremendous team, really well coached.
Yep.
We took the lead and then unfortunately had a situation where only 1 or 2 minutes into the second half, we had a player ejected.
Yeah.
And so nothing ever comes easy.
Right.
And especially when you're trying to do something for the first time, it's never easy to accomplish it. And so there was just one more piece of adversity that we had to overcome.
Sure.
And we did. And it was really overwhelming to see the players' reaction when the referee blew the whistle. Those visions will last a long time with me. Players who are well versed, played on some really good programs in the high school and club world, and then transitioning here, and their reaction at the final whistle when the referee signaled the end of the game to be falling to their knees. A number were in tears.
Yeah.
That's how much they wanted it. And that's how much they sacrificed in order to get it. And so it was a really good moment as a coach, but really you're always trying to learn and teach. And for the younger guys to see the sacrifice that we had to go through in order to get to the playoffs. Now we know that again, we keep on saying that the journey to the playoffs started in January and February, not just in August. For how much we had to sacrifice going a player down in order to just leave everything out on the field in order to finally cross the line was just a tremendous feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could see it. Like, they were just so relieved. It was like the pressure just kind of came out of the building. Like, they finally clinched the spot. Everybody just dogpiled on top of each other on the pitch. It was truly a wonderful moment. It was very cool to see it and be a part of it, especially to have it here at our home field at the soccer complex. Just a really cool moment to be a part of, for sure.
It was the culmination of a really interesting week because we really fancy our chances at home.
Yeah.
We're if you're not quite familiar with how soccer works, you can play a number of games on grass and then turf, and you think, well, it doesn't really make much of a difference. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And there's only 2 or 3 teams in the conference that have grass, and so I know we find it challenging when we play teams that play on turf. And so I can imagine when teams that are playing on turf every day in practices and games, and then have to transition to a grass field, I can imagine it does take a time to adjust to it.
Yeah.
So we fancy our chances at home. We played Ursinus the previous weekend, and we were really, sorry, not Ursinus, Haverford, and we were really disappointed to tie the game. We conceded, we 1-0 up, and the strength of our team for the longest of times was our defense and keeping clean sheets, and so we were thinking that 1-0 was scoreline that we'd had plenty of times throughout the season, that we were going to be on our way to a victory, and they scored a really good goal against us, and it was 1-1, and it felt like a loss. And just that shift in mentality, that to tie a game felt like a loss, was really a good moment for us, because you could see something in the plays where maybe in the past that tie would have been a good result. So now that they're feeling like it's a loss, and then we use that motivation to go on the road to Gettysburg, which is not an easy place to play on turf, and we managed to come out of there with a win, really strong performance, won the game, and so then with the Swarthmore game, that's 7 points in 7 days. So that was a tremendous 3-game stretch that really helped us.
Yeah, absolutely. It was huge. Yeah, and you mentioned that Gettysburg game. Mike Mevo scored the winner late. So you get these kind of, again, great defense is your calling card, as you mentioned, like shutting down opponents. I mean, we'll talk about Tate Roth in a minute, but he had 11 shutouts this year. So, I mean, defense for sure is what you guys lean on. And you get those late scoring opportunities, and you make the most of them. You don't win every game you play 5-0, but you get the one goal you need, and then the defense does the rest. And that was really the key to your success in a lot of the games you played this year. And I think that was mostly what got you into the playoffs, was those aggressive defensive performances, and then the timely goals late. Like the little offensive spurts here and there is what put you over the top.
Yeah, just knowing that you're not going to concede many goals just allows your offense to keep on going.
Yeah.
It's tough from an offensive standpoint if you know that you have to score 3 goals in order to win a game,
right,
because your defense is, maybe lacking a little bit and conceding a sloppy goal or 2. So with the trust that the team had in the defense, really allowed us to take our time and not having to rush and force things. And you're right. There's late winners are nice. Although it'd be nice to win a game 5-0.
Right.
From the coaching perspective.
Of course, everyone would like to win that way, but it doesn't go that way all the time.
No.
But you made it back to the postseason this year. You won your first playoff game since 2017. In the first round of the ECAC playoffs, you beat Hartford 2-0. So describe to me what that feeling was like, to win a playoff game and advance to the second round for the first time in 7 years.
Well, so we managed to obviously get into the playoffs, the Centennial Conference playoffs, and we played Muhlenberg again, so back-to-back games, which was a quirk of fate. And it was 2 interesting games. It was a last regular season game, and we were already in the playoffs.
Right.
I think the only thing at stake was if we won, we'd have had home field advantage.
Yeah, positioning, seeding, right.
But one thing in the game led to another, and it got to the stage where I knew we were going to turn around in such a short period of time, and I had a number of guys that were banged up and needed rest. So I ended up having to make some switches in the middle of the game to give some guys a rest, with one eye on that Tuesday game.
Sure.
And so the performance on Tuesday in the first round of playoffs against Muhlenberg, it was arguably one of the best performances I'd had all season.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we lost 1-0. But it was a really good playoff moment. It was on the road, night game, real adverse situation.
Yeah.
We played tremendously well. Again, we were performance driven, not results. But unfortunately, that performance, how well it was, it didn't result in us winning. But I thought we played tremendously well. And I was just really wanted to push in the ECACs to make sure that we won a playoff game.
Yeah.
Not just being happy to be there, not end the season, with 2 tough games against Muhlenberg, and then maybe an unfortunate loss in the first round of the ECACs against Hartford. So that was in my back of my mind. Although I didn't want to express that to the players, I really wanted us to win.
Yeah.
Just obviously to progress into the tournament. But I really felt that that 10 wins and 8 losses, I thought it doesn't really do justice to what we accomplished this season. So that Hartford win was a really, really big one for the program.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a shutout win, too, 2-0. That was goalkeeper Tate Roth's 11 shutouts this season. That was his 11th in that game.
That was a really tricky game to coach and to manage because you have one eye on the next day as well.
Sure.
And so it was 2-0 at halftime, and as we know in the soccer world, 2-0 is the toughest.
Is the dangerous
line.
lead to have, yeah.
So I'm hoping to get, at halftime we said, the next goal is massive.
Yeah.
If we can get to 3-0, then we have a little bit of breathing space. If it's 2-1, then the game's back on again. So the next goal is massive. And so the next goal actually never arrived, but we also knew in the back of our mind that Juniata, who would play on Sunday if we were fortunate to win, didn't have a game. So they were fresh. Right. They were ready to go. They were watching us. And so I was trying to, if I could, get some guys off the field because I know they have to play back-to-back days, which is not easy. But the way the game turned out, we didn't end up putting the game away and getting a third goal. And so maybe a lot of the guys that I wanted to get off the field had to play more minutes than what I wanted them to. Because at the end of the day, I had to make sure we won Saturday's game and not look too early to Sunday's game before we'd even won Saturday's.
Yeah.
So it was a difficult one to manage.
Yeah, it sounds that way. But again, getting that first win, just getting over the hump, having to play in 2 straight days is, of course, a challenge. But you put up one heck of a challenge, too, against Juniata. Even with no rest in between games, you lost 2-1 to a very good Juniata team, 12 wins on the year. Mike Mevo scored your only goal in that game. But, again, it seemed like it was like the rest of the games you played this year where, you got the late push here and there. And, unfortunately, against a good team like Juniata, they're going to be able to find ways to score, especially on their home field. And, not having the rest advantage is tough, of course. But looking back as the season has come to a close and you look at the whole thing, Tate Roth played phenomenally well this year. I think he was a first-team all-conference selection as the goalkeeper for your team. He led the league with save percentage. He had 11 shutouts this year as well. So talk a little bit about his performance this year. He stepped into the starting goalkeeper role when it was not guaranteed to him at the beginning of the year. He won the job beginning of the year. He won Conference Player of the Week, Defensive Conference Player of the Week 3 times this year in the Centennial. So talk about his work specifically and how he kind of spearheaded one of the best defenses in the Centennial Conference this year.
Well, a tremendous goalie.
Yeah.
And a tremendous young man. His personality fits the goalkeeper position because he's not uptight. He's very relaxed in the way he plays. If he makes a mistake, he shrugs it off. He's not beating himself up about it. So he's got a great personality to be a goalkeeper. I think Ted will be the first person to say that as a defensive unit of 5, they were all contributors.
Oh yeah, of course.
Big contributors to the clean sheet record, and him being first team all conference. The back 4 was tremendous. A very veteran group. Noah Rodriguez has almost played every game of his career, if not every minute. Being this tremendous left back who just doesn't miss games.
Yeah.
Very strong, very driven, and a guy that will be banged up on Thursday, Friday, but I don't even have to ask him. He's playing Saturday. He's that kind of mentality and playing at a high level as well. Right back, Jared Edge, captain, 2-year captain. Great addition to the team when he agreed to join us. So he's been very, very experienced and versatile player. And then the centre backs was 2 of 3. Matt Bowes, another senior who's been a tremendous workhorse for the program in his time here. And then you have Chase Osborne that transferred in, and Luke Hammer. So between the 3 of them, with injuries, with different things going on, we managed to have a really strong defensive unit, which then allowed Tate to find his feet, and not be under the gun. And it's one thing coming in at your first start and you're getting shelled with all these shots, and it can be overwhelming, and it can be really a tough place to be. But the defense protected him a lot. But he also came up with some massive saves at times when the game was on the line.
Yeah.
So it was a massive effort. But Tate has took his chance, and this is what really it's really the perfect coaching moment when you're speaking to players. Like, just be ready. Be ready. You never know when your chance is going to come, and make sure you're ready for it when your chance does come. And,
absolutely.
He had a tremendous summer. We went as a team to Costa Rica, so he got some game time there with the guys.
Yep.
And then was patient, and he was ready. And then when he got the chance, he almost had the mentality like, I'm not giving this up.
Yeah.
Waited a long time to get it, and quite rightly so. He's got a lot of accolades. First team all conference, which is tremendous for him.
Yep.
But I'm hoping that still the best for him is still to come.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you mentioned the other contributors on the defensive side too. Chase Osborne and Luke Hammer were both honorable mention in the Centennial Conference all honorable mention team this year. So, not only did you have Tate make first team, but you also had 2 extra defenders make the conference team as well. And I think that speaks to just how great the defensive unit was as a whole. And you mentioned it too. It's not just one player. It's not just Tate in net. It's everybody else who takes a little bit of the pressure off of him. And Tate made the big plays when he had to, of course. But a lot of the nitty-gritty, the hard work in the trenches was done by the other guys on the defensive side.
Yeah, and not just the backs. I mean, flipping heck, Brandon Moss, my goodness,
right.
I mean, that guy's probably played more minutes in every year than the goalkeepers.
Right.
That boy covers some. I don't think he'll be as appreciated as when he's not here.
Yeah.
For what he does to that midfield and the way he solves problems out on the field, and he really is an extension of me. I'm very, very grateful to have the opportunity to work with him, and we see the game similarly. So when we just need a couple of glances or even a couple of quick words, and he knows what I'm thinking, I don't know what he's thinking.
Yeah.
So I'm very appreciative of him, and he sets the tone for the whole team. Him and Jake Kegley in the middle of midfield, the engine room, so to speak.
Yep.
So it's not just a back 5; it's the whole 11 of 27 guys buying into the principle of we're going to be tough to beat. I got to mention also the coaches as well, Coach Caleb Davis and Brett Altimore and Matt Hayes, goalkeeper coach as well. We threw in a different concept defending this year, and it really, obviously, with the clean sheets that we had, really paid dividends. So it's been a real team effort.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, we spent a lot of time early on here today talking about how great the defense was this year, but we should shout out the offense as well, because again, as we mentioned earlier, the offense came through with late goals in a number of games this year to put games away and win close contests. Got to start, of course, with Parks Tolton, the leading goal scorer this year, but you also had contributions from a large number of players this year. AJ Nordone, Mike Mevo, as we mentioned, Charlie Olson as well. Number of different players got involved on the score sheet and found ways to score late in games. So talk about the offense this year, how you thought they did, and that proficiency for late goals and for finding those offensive sparks late in games. Tell me what you thought about the offensive unit this year.
Yes, it's we want to make sure, again, go back to the fact that we started with a really strong out-of-conference schedule, just so we knew that we weren't going to be getting 10, 15 chances a game.
Yeah.
It was going to be one goal, going to have to be really switched on from the start. We can't afford to be lax defensively in order to then ask the offense to do too much and be unfair to them. And so we play some really strong opponents where set piece goals, set piece situations are important. So the delivery, the constant practice of it, and then the attacking situations that what I really am proud of with the boys is they play both sides of the ball really well.
Yeah.
They know how to attack. Obviously, they're naturally attackers, which is what they came in as goal scorers for their high school or club teams, and so they're very proficient on the offensive side of the ball. But for us, they have to make sure that they're willing and able to do the defensive side as well. So it's not an easy system to play in. It's not a situation where if we lose possession and then we have to transition back to defense, they can just hang out up front and wait for us to win the ball back. They have to get back, and it's a very physical way to play, very demanding as well, a lot of high intensity runs. So I'm really grateful for what they've done, and we have to rotate positions a lot. You have to rotate substitutions in and out because it's hard to play 90 minutes at that level of intensity.
It is.
So the depth, having Charlie, Ewell, Mike, Luke Mason, AJ, Connor O'Brien.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of depth there, which has been one of the keys to the success. Really, it's tough to go with those same 3 players, for the whole season. So having the depth of 6, 7 guys to choose from, and all of them coming in and working at extremely high level is really important. Yeah,
absolutely. And when you just look at the counting stats, I mean, you see how evenly distributed the offense was this year, to prove your point that depth really was a key component to your success, right? Because Park scored 4 goals this year. He led the team, but there's 6 or 7 guys that had 2 goals this year and that each found ways to contribute to the offense at different points in time. I think that speaks really well to how you develop players in this program and how you keep them around and how they contribute in many different ways. As you said, on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively, you get contributions from everyone. And it wasn't just one guy who was taking control of the offense, or it wasn't just Tate doing the dirty work on defense. Everyone was contributing in a number of ways. And I think from an opponent's standpoint, that's really hard to beat, right? Because anyone can beat you on any given day, and anyone can come up with the goal or the save or the defensive play to make a difference in a game.
Yeah, we have really competitive training sessions, and I never want to get to the point where the starting team picks itself and no one else can get in it. Mm-hmm. It's very much driven by what happens on the training field.
Sure.
And how well you practice and rhythm. And there's so many ups and downs in the season.
Yeah.
It's a grueling season. It's physical. So players' form can come and go, get banged up, get injuries, have a couple of days off, and now all of a sudden they're struggling to make a game on a Saturday, so I've got to pivot and look at their options. The perfect example of that would be Connor O'Brien, who didn't start until the last 2 or 3 games of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Came on and contributed, did really well. Started off slow because he got banged up over the summer because he was playing and keeping fit, but unfortunately got an injury. So started off behind the gun, missed preseason really. Started off slow, but really pushed himself in training to the point where he was really doing well, to the point where I had to start him because he was contributing so much in training sessions and pushing everybody. So he fought his way in there. So another good lesson for other players that are around there to not get discouraged, but to keep on working hard. And if you're playing well, playing better than anybody else, regardless of how many goals or assists you've got, it's very much performance driven. He got a couple of starts there towards the end of the season and finished off really strong. So the season ended up being 3 months, just over 3 months. And some players, it's tough. You're playing a lot of minutes,
sure.
And you maybe peak at the end of October. Some players are only just getting better and better. Maybe some freshmen who are not quite sure how to handle the training sessions and get acclimatized to it. Are really thriving towards the end of the season. So it's just knowing what the team needs and who's trending in the right direction come the end of the season.
Yeah. So you did mention briefly there those freshmen, the younger guys. Talk about the future of this program. Of course, the 2024 season has come to a close now, but how does the future of this program look in your eyes? How do the incoming crop of freshmen and younger players, how do you think they're going to fit into this program and help the program advance into the future?
Well, the groundwork was really set by the seniors because, talk about leaving a legacy and paving a path, but 7 seniors that contributed so much in different roles.
Yeah.
And so the younger guys can use them as a perfect example of how they need to commit themselves to the off season, how they commit themselves, to the community service work that we do, not just playing soccer, but everything else that comes with being a McDaniel College men's soccer player.
Sure.
They showed everybody how to do it, and so the blueprint is there, which is awesome. There's only so much, that they want to listen to me, but when their teammates are doing it and performing and at the high level that they're doing, with team academic awards, so as much as the playoffs are awesome, academically we're doing things right in the classroom. So all those little pieces that I feel is part of what McDaniel men's soccer is all about, the seniors have demonstrated it. So really grateful for them. So it's just carrying on from where they left off and where they took us.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, again, the importance of any senior class for any team cannot be stated enough. I mean, especially, for your guys too, you really do see it because you did have so many contributions, again, from so many players up and down the lineup. To have that steady senior leadership, I think really just kind of keeps the program moving in the right direction and sets the young guys up for success as well, especially when they can see that they can contribute too in many different ways. It's not just on one side of the ball, on the offensive side, on the defensive side, on the attack, whatever it may be. Everybody can contribute, no matter whether you're a senior or you're a freshman or you're a transfer or anything of that nature. I've really seen that with your team this year, is that it really is a true team effort in many different ways. And I think if you're a young player that's interested in coming into this program, you see this team this year, it's a great example of how you can contribute right away too and be a part of something that's really exciting. That's moving in a positive direction in the future. So I don't want to keep you too long, but is there anything else that you want to say about how this team performed this year and what you're looking forward to the most about the future of this program?
It hit me in October, I think it was. It was a training session, and I just came off the field, and I was so appreciative of the group of players that I was working with because they're just great kids.
Yeah.
And it's not easy being a collegiate athlete, especially when there's only 11 players that start and there's 27 guys on the roster. You really need a mature group, a mature leadership, and that's what we had. And play was already when we called upon them. But I was really pleased with the whole group and how they handled situations, how they handled themselves, and how they handled situations, how they overcame adversity, with going a goal down or playing on the road or suffering a loss. How do we handle that?
Sure.
And so, it was a really, really enjoyable season, but one that we obviously need to take advantage of and build upon for next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, as we mentioned, the Centennial is always such a tough league, and making it to the conference playoffs is one thing, but next year's goal, you got to win a playoff game and advance further into the tournament and see what happens after that. But just from my perspective, working in the sports information office, I've definitely seen a ton of progress in this program. Of course, you've been at the helm for over a decade now. You've been able to right the ship for many years. But this team in particular, I think, just really kind of bonded together and came together when they had to. And you can see it with all the close late wins that they had throughout the year, winning against conference teams, great teams, many of which came on the road. Some came here at the soccer complex. But finding ways to get it done late, I think, really brings a team together. And you can see how together the team is when you come up with those plays late in a game. Winning a lot of games 1-0 or 2-1 or something like that brings the team together, and I think kind of firmly entrenches the culture of this program and really keeps it all together, keeps it glued together. So, look, I mean, as you mentioned, everybody wants to win 5-0, but sometimes you can pull a lot more from a close game and a close win, and I think the team becomes closer too when you have those close games. So a lot of positive things, in my opinion, to build off of from this season. And again, the all-conference nominations, all the other awards and accolades are one thing, but to grow the players as people, not just within the program, but to make them successful college students and make them successful beyond the walls of McDaniel College, I think has always been a goal of yours, just from talking to you and getting to know you this year. Do you think that team has lived up to that goal? Do you think they're on the right path, once they leave the program and become, grown men once they leave the college?
You're right. That is the goal.
Yeah.
That is the goal. I mean, I'd exchange any conference playoff appearance in order to make sure that my boys turn out to be good men.
Yeah.
Because that's the ultimate goal at the end of the day. A lot of strong leadership in that senior group, and they're able to demonstrate that leadership because they're good young men and they understand what it takes to work hard. And that's such a skill that is so important, the ability to have a strong work ethic. And again, that all starts in January and February when you've got to be up at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock to be outside on a freezing cold day to to run and do fitness. It's that mentality of, I'm not going to let my team down.
Yeah.
I'm going to get up. I'm going to be on time. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to get it done.
Yeah.
It's that work ethic that really stands out with what we're trying to accomplish here. And again, the seniors have laid a great foundation, but the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors have taken on that mantle, and I'm excited for all the characters that we have behind them. The likes of Jake Kegley, who's a captain this year as a junior, a tremendously hard-working young man. I already mentioned Noah, who was in the ECAC team of the tournament.
Yeah, that's right.
And then we have Connor Nahara, who works his socks off. AJ, who's battling injuries all season long, but doing extra work to make sure, if he has an hour training session, he's doing 2 hours pre-practice work. That's how committed he is.
Yeah.
So you have all these examples of kids that are just working their socks off, and if you have a good work ethic, you're gonna succeed.
Yeah.
And their teammates are there to look out for them, as am I. So
yeah,
really proud of the whole group.
Yeah, exactly. Same here. Same sentiments exactly. Just having seen the team and followed the team from start to finish, they really just looked like a solid group together, and they each picked themselves up when one fell down or when somebody was out with an injury or whatever happened. There was somebody there to provide some solid reinforcements, if you will, and that was the story of the season in many ways. Just pulling out close wins late, great defense, clean sheets, as you mentioned, and getting back to the playoffs for the first time in 7 years, making the Centennial Conference Championship, the tournament, for the first time since 2005. So a lot of great accomplishments, of course, on the stat sheet, but intangibles too. A lot of successful things off the pitch with the team coming together and really playing as one solid unit together. I think there are a lot of positive things that this program can build off for, not just for next year, but years beyond. This is a year that I will certainly remember very fondly for the men's soccer program, and I think you probably will too.
Yeah, it was a really, really tremendous experience, and sometimes you come across these individual moments that when you put them all together, the signs were there.
Yeah.
We Gianluca Conte, I've got to mention him. What a tremendous player he is, and had a situation and was finding that playing time hard to come by, and so as a coach who's been doing it a while, you kind of look to see what his reaction is on the bench when things are going and he's not on the field contributing. And we won a game, and I saw him sprint. He was the first one off the field to sprint off the bench, to sprint onto the field to celebrate with his teammates. And I thought, man, that's special, because that's someone that's putting his own interest aside for that of the team, and he's still so invested in the team that no matter what's going on, he wants the team to succeed. So little moments like that, the adversity of the Swarthmore game when you're down a player, it's so easy to throw in the towel and say, well, you know what, it was a good game and we tied it, or even lost 2-1 late, and all those sub stories.
Right.
But they refused to let that happen, and to that game for us to come in and win that game was a tremendous moment too. So a lot of individual moments along the way that really gave us the belief that we're not bad here.
Yeah, right.
We're not bad. You mentioned the conference. We have 4 of the teams make the NCAA's.
Right.
I think at the time there was the top 5 teams in the region was in our conference.
That's right. Yep.
So we're literally playing against the best teams in the country every week, and we end up being in the playoffs playing against them. So in our own right, we should be very proud of.
Yeah.
I'm telling the guys should be very proud of what they achieved.
Absolutely. Yeah. Same here. I mean, again, this is an extremely, extremely tough league. Of course, you have Johns Hopkins at the top, Dickinson, who advanced to the Elite Eight of the NCAA tournament, Washington College, who made the Final Four last season. So a number of great teams in this league. And the fact that not only can you compete with them week in and week out, but you beat them many times, and sometimes even on the road, pulling out late goals here and there, just speaks to the preparedness of the team being ready to take on any challenge. And again, in such a tough league like the Centennial, wins are never easy to come by. So the fact that even just making the conference tournament is, a successful goal in and of itself. So again, a lot of positives here, not just from the results on the field and on the score sheet, but just, expanding the scope back a little bit and seeing how the team gelled together and became one unit and grew as people, not just as players through this season. Steve, this has been great. Thank you so much for coming on today and talking a little bit more about the team and some of the things that you wanted to accomplish this year. Is there anything else that you want to leave us with as we wrap up today?
Yeah, thank you to you. The game day environment at McDaniel is really special, and I really love home games, and yourself and Jason did a really excellent job of making sure that experience for our players, our fans, people coming to watch the games, it's a really special occasion. In fall on the hill is a really awesome place to be.
It is. Sure is.
Playing, we've got games maybe back to back with the women's team. We see other teams that are doing their non-traditional season. Baseball's playing right next to us as well. It's just a great environment to be in, and you do a really good job of making it extra special for us. So really appreciate your work.
This isn't about me, Steve. Come on, this is about you guys. This is a recap for you. That's true. That's okay. Good point. Very good point. Steve Corrieri, head coach of the men's soccer program here at McDaniel College. My guest today, recapping the men's soccer season in 2024. Steve, great host, or great guest, I should say, as always. I was thinking back to it's a great guest, I should say, as always. Thanks so much for coming back on the show, and we'll see you guys again on the Hill next fall. Hopefully that'll be another successful season for the men's team.
Thanks, Avery.
Steve Corrieri, head coach of the men's soccer program at McDaniel College. My guest here today, recapping the men's soccer season in 2024. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching this edition of Green Terror Talk, the official podcast of McDaniel College Athletics. We'll see you later.